Okay, we're here at the entrance, see the gate over there, to Victoria Dam or Victoria Reservoir. I'm going to do this walk, although the map here is really old. I'm doing a different sort of a loop. There's a car park somewhere here and I'm going to go across down there and then walk back up, and this is all different down the bottom here as well. But it says 6 kilometers on this one. I'm pretty sure it used to be 7 kilometers, but it's about 6.2 the way I'm going to walk it. Now on the weekends these gates are shut, so if you want to do the walk you've got to park in this little area here, and the loop walk actually goes down behind that car there. You can see a marker there, green marker. That's a Catamorda walk trail, 27 kilometer walk, so you probably don't want to miss that one. But if you go down the track there, you'll just keep heading around to the left and you'll go down the Bickley Valley, and there's spots along there that I'll talk about when we get to them. The Catamorda trail, it's about 27 kilometers, so that goes up through there, comes across here and keeps on going down. That does a big loop around the back of Kalamunda. On the weekends gates are closed. I have no idea why they close them on the weekend and let people come in during the day. Seems pretty stupid, but anyway. So yes, there is another car park down there and we'll go down to there now and start the walk from there. Hopefully it's not going to rain on me, but I seem to get rained on quite a lot when I go bushwalking. Anyway, we'll go and have a look. As you can see, there is a lot of history in this walk here, so I'm going to break it down into two parts. First part, going in anti-clockwise direction, hopefully it won't rain on me, showing you the old railway line and the way up to Mason's Mill. The old mill site was somewhere in this valley, somewhere in the valley, which has now been taken over by a orchard, and the mill town site is was in the area what is now the Mason Mill Rose Gardens. But on the way through I'll talk about the history of this little area, and also this little spot here which is a grave site. Now when Mason's Mill was built, the Weston family lived in this area. They got a land, I don't know whether they got a land grant or bought land up here, but they got about 200 acres of land. The history book says that they got the land near the what's now a golf course up here at Pickering Brook, but I'm not sure if that's correct or not, because the name of the orchard is still being used by an orchard that's over in Carragullen, so I'm not sure whether that's correct or not. But anyway, this is the grave of Francis Weston, born January 17, 1876, I think it is, or 1870, and died in January the 19th, 1870. So she lived for 2 days. And this little grave site, original grave was that little fence there that was put up by the Weston family at the time. She was the first of 11 children to be born to the Westons, and then the Weston family later on put a larger fence around it to protect it. They say that the wood for the headstone and the original fence here was milled at the Mason's Mill. It would be pretty impressive if that was true, but you never know, it could be. It is looks pretty old in there, and obviously they used to come up here every now and then. He used to ride his horse across and clear the area, trying to make it bushfire free. Okay, had to cut it short there because that car had a group of people in it that came down and had a look at the gravesite. I will do this walk. I'll break this up into two parts because it's going to take a long time to explain all the bits and pieces that are out here. It's an awful lot of heritage sites on this walk, so I'll do half the loop down to the train bridge, and then the other half coming back up through the dam. But we'll just drive on a bit and go into the car park, which is the start of the walks if you can get through the front gate. Alright, this is the car park. You can see someone walking down there. That's the trail that goes down to the dam. We'll come back on that trail. Pretty big car park. See that white gate over there? That's the one we're going to walk through and then go down into the Bickley Valley and follow the Bickley Creek, Bickley River, down to the bridge and go from there. Hopefully, although I did get a few drops of rain out of that cloud, it should be okay. Now if we couldn't get into this car park, you'd have to walk from the gate down to here, which is about 800 metres. Obviously you can't drive through there anymore. You used to be able to go down into there, and there's a picnic area at the bottom. But for us, we're going to do this walk and go past some old saw pits if I can find them again. The old pipe stump, then down into the valley and have a look along the old Mason and Bird Trail. You can find that information about that on the internet. Now when you cross over this little gate here, if you follow that road up there to the right, that's just like a fire break that follows up along the side of the road here. The one we want to go down straight ahead, and you've got another little fire break down the left. But we'll head this way, show you a few things in the bush. Alright, this area here is I call it the pipe dump. It's just where they've dumped a whole pile of old pipes and some brand new ones. The ones in the middle of this group here, you can see they've got the old rivets. They were some of the original pipes coming down from the dam. They've got fittings and all sorts of stuff through here. This area, if you walk through the bushland, you will find holes in the ground, pits, and they were where they dropped the jarrah trees, dug a hole underneath them and then cut them up. So there were saw pits around here. That could have been one there. Probably there. But yes, there are holes in the ground around here, which are the old saw pits from the wood cutting days. And around this area, full of old pipes. It's rather funny. This is a national park. Yep, you can see the pits down through there. A national park, Water Authority just leave all this stuff lying around everywhere. If we did it as a citizen of Perth, we would get fined for littering. Those pipes over here, these ones just there, they're brand new. They've never been used. They're just sitting there rusting away. Anyway, we'll keep going up this track, and then it drops down into the valley. So in this area, yep, you've got the saw pits where the woodcutters got the old big jarrah trees, which you can't see many of now, dropped them on the ground, cut them up to usable lengths, and then hauled them out. And then they probably went up over this track or something similar to the wood mill, where they were milled into planks and panels and things, and then on the horse-drawn carts on the railway or tram line down to Mason's Point, I think they called it, on the Canning River. And that's where they chucked them on a boat and sailed them out. Anyway, interesting around the areas, like around the casuarina trees. it's all pine needles or needles on the ground. It's nice and open, and then you get up into the other parts of the forest and it's all thick undergrowth, but it's all very like green, newish undergrowth. It doesn't seem to be a lot of dieback in this area. There certainly is some though, you can tell it in the trees, but it's a reasonably healthy patch of forest. Alright, next stop. Okay, apiary site. When I first walked this track, I looked on the internet, looked at the loop, went, yeah, this is a good walk, I'll come and do it. They must have just moved the beehives, because you could see where the hives were on the ground in here, and there were still bees flying around. So if you're allergic to bees, just be careful. It's not very far from the pipe dump, but yeah, if you're allergic to bees, just be careful going through this area. If they put the hives back, you might have to take it wide. Alright, we head left in this area. If you go up to this track on the right, that takes you back up to the main road. It's just an old fire line. But we keep heading downhill. Okay, just walking down the hill here, hopefully not sliding over on all the honky nuts. You'll come up to a T-junction. If we turn right, we'll end up back at the main gate, the very first part of the video. If you turn left, that's the way we need. Alright, the battery just cut out, so I have to change the battery. We turn left here and go down the valley. The little creek line down along there is Bickley Brook. I can see some fence posts through the edge line here, so I'm not sure if it's actually still private property or has become part of the national park. Well, I couldn't tell you. I do know there used to be a farm there, and in fact further down the valley we'll come to a site that I'll talk about. This track here was part of a railway line. It was a wooden railway line. It had horse-drawn carriages, so it went up to the mill, collected the wood from the mason's mill up that way, and then brought it back down here all the way to, I think it was called Mason's Point on Canning River. Offloaded, then they brought the carriages back up, all done by horse and cart days, but on wooden railway lines. Now in the satellite, when I first looked at this, I thought this big patch just over here, it was a bit open patch, it looked like a rocky outcrop, and I thought, oh, that's pretty good, I'll use that as a navigation mark, but it's actually a mine. It's a kaolin mine, a white clay mine, and just on the right here you can see the banks of one of the dams there, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Now the kaolin is a white clay that they used to make china out of, and they actually found it up here and they mined it. On the satellite it looks like a rocky outcrop, but it's actually a hole in the ground. There is a number here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, here it is, just by this tree. Should have a number 8 on it. Yep. That's the only marker that I've found left from the Mason and Bird Trail. And if you go on the internet and download the information for it, it just walks from Bickley Reservoir up here, up to the old the end of the road basically, turns around and walks straight back. And they used to have sites like this and a handout that you could get information on. This kaolin used in white china, and then they also decided that it was pretty good for your complexion. So they put it into all sorts of cosmetics and things like that, and tried to use it to detox your skin and all that sort of stuff. Sort of like giving you a mud pack. A bit silly, but anyway. The things they did in the old days, I mean, they used to use radium. They used to give people radium because it was a health drink and end up killing people. Fence line's still there. Now the dam, which is just up in over there, it's an old one, it's been broken through, supplied water for the next little spot just down the valley here. They used to have a fruit and a vegetable garden down here. It's still open, like you can get into there and walk around it. And that supplied fruit and vegetables to Mason's Mill town site. So the dam back up there sent the water down. There's a sort of a flatter area down there, and that's where the orchard and the fruit farms were back in the 1870s. And this, believe it or not, used to have a wooden railway coming up it. Poor old horses. But we'll stop at another site and talk about that. Anyway, easy walk. There are a few patches a little bit further on where it's pretty rough ground, but nothing that anyone will have too much trouble with. You can see the tracks just there. You can see where they sort of dug down looking for that white clay, the kaolin. They found a patch just there, so it's deeper and more dug out. You can see the bit of remnants of it on the mound, and the diggings just kept on going. I can hear water in the stream down there. It would be nice to go down and have a look. But the first time I walked this, I didn't do my research and all that sort of stuff, so there was markers like number 8. I saw the pits, I didn't know what it was. So I got home. There was no water running in this creek at all, it was bone dry. Got home, had a look on the internet, looked at some bushwalking sites which came up with the tracks and the loops and all that, and the heritage site, WA Heritage Site, which is run by the government, and that's where I got the information about the grave and the Westons. So I think I got cut short there. The Westons were some of the original workers in Mason's Mill, and he was ended up running a mill. I'm not sure whether he ran Mason's Mill or not, but there were quite a few little mills out in the forest through here. So he then got some land. He got 200 acres of land just below the golf course in Pickering Brook. That's where one website says he got it, but the name of the orchard is the name of an orchard that's over in Carrigullen, so maybe he got 200 acres of land in Carrigullen. But the history shows that he did continually walk back to that gravesite and tend it, made the fence around it, the original little one in the centre, made the headstone out of jarrah, because he was also a carpenter, so he did a good job of that, and it's still lasted today. And he used to come back every now and then, clear the bushland around the gravesite and try and protect it from bushfires. And his family have been doing that ever since, up until I think 2014, and then it was made a heritage listed site. Don't know if you can hear that. It's not wind in the trees, it's actually the water running over the rocks. Should have brought my drone with me and flown up this valley and had a look. Anyway, next spot. Here's the orchard site, just down here on the right. Now as you walk along, that's probably about 400 metres at a guess. I didn't even measure it. On the right hand side you can see it opening up down there, and that was the area where they had the orchard and veggie garden that fed Mason's Mill town site. Track's pretty rough and rocky along here. It's not too bad though. But as I said in the history, the stuff I read up about the railway line, tight corners, like sharp bends and steep descents, and it was quite a dangerous little tramway, and they lost a few horses and carriages in the process of getting things up and down this railway. And back in the 1870s, it's only about 50 years after Perth was established, horses and that were a very valuable commodity. Everybody needed them, everybody wanted them, and when you have a prang with a horse-drawn carriage coming down these hills and kill some, it's not a good look. It's almost impossible to believe that they actually had a railway line going up through here, or tram line through here. It would have been very hard for the horses. You can see a little flat spot there. It's probably where a house was at one stage, and then the orchard out to the sides. Would be a very good spot to bring a school group or a group of kids that are interested in the forest, bring them up here, set up a camp, teach them about the environment. Now this little spot just here, I believe, according to the history things, this is where they kept their horses. So when they pulled the trams up to a point here, they unhitched some of the horses because they didn't need them to go up the rest of the trail, and rested them in this area, and then picked them up on the way back down. So they obviously needed a lot of horses further down where it's quite steep, rested half of them, and kept on going up the hill. Now this trail marker here, that's the Catamorda Trail. That's the 27-kilometre loop trail. So we're on 3 trails at the moment on the same track. The Mason and Bird Heritage Trail that starts at Bickley Reservoir down that way. The Catamorda Trail, which does a big loop around Kalamunda. And the track that we're just walking here, the 6k long loop walk to Victoria Dam. There's a roadway that goes down through there too. It's not on the maps, but yeah, well, I'll come back and walk that one later. Oh, that's a bit strange. Crosses on the road. That one there, obviously they want people to walk up that track. That's just a shortcut. Satellite shows it just cutting off the corner down here. So anyway, last time I walked down here there were kangaroos sitting around on the grass down there. Would be good for a school group, I reckon. Just get them into a little light backpacking. Start out at Bickley Education Centre down the bottom at the reservoir. Walk up to here with your backpacks and that. You could probably even get permission to drive a car up here with some stores and stuff. Set up somewhere around there, have a campfire. Looks like someone's had a campfire down there before. Set up and start teaching them about the forest and what's going on around this place, how to look after it. Alright, the next stop a bit further down is the bridge, and that's where this part of the walk, I'll call it quits on that. Otherwise you'll be going for hours on the internet listening to this rubbish. Well, not rubbish, but listening to me waffling on. Yeah, anyway, a little bit further on also you can see where they actually built the road properly. It's quite interesting, like the old cobblestone roads made out of blocks of rocks. Not a bad little spot down there. Anyway, here we go, very close to the end of the walkway. You can sort of see on the ground this line of rocks, and inside it, where it's been sort of packed properly, it's an old roadway, walkway or roadway. Seems a bit strange that they would have done this and then put a railway line over the top of it, but you know, never know, it could have been true. The railway line took 7 months to build, from Mason's Point down on the Canning River all the way up to Mason's Mill, and it was done with convict labour. This roadway it just seems a bit strange that it's a nice packed bit of roadway that still survived, but you'd build something like this and then put a train line on the top. Doesn't make sense. It may be the way they did it back then, I just don't know. But yeah, just down there you can see the bridge. We'll walk down there in a sec. Alright, we've just come down that rocky little track there. That's the way we're going to go up to the dam, and this is the old bridge and the walkway there. You can see at the top of the bridge it has been replaced. The only parts that are still original from the 1870s are actually the legs or the pylons. So they had a wooden tramway like that running across the bridge. Obviously the rock wasn't there, and then going up that hill. So yeah, the poor old horses would have had a hard time going up and down that. If you want to do the Mason and Bird Heritage Trail, it starts at the bottom of this road here at Bickley Brook Reservoir. Walks up this track and then comes or goes up the track that I've just walked down. But this is the old original woodwork, the piers or pillars underneath the bridge from the 1870s. 7 months to build this tram line, and yet the train line from Armidale to Byford is going to take about 3 years. Pretty impressive. And this brook, I think it's called Monday Brook, that goes up to Victoria Reservoir, which is the next part. Okay, and obviously you can see some water flowing down the creek, which wasn't flowing last time I was here. So that's the end of this part of the walk. I will walk back up to the dam and tell you all about the dam and what's around that area. Otherwise, if I join it all in one thing, it's probably going to take an hour of internet time. Alright, so certainly come down and do the 6k walk. It's not a hard walk, grade 3 I reckon they call it. Quite interesting spots to have a look at. There's plenty of wildlife around here, although you can't hear much at the moment. And it's a pretty easy walk once you get to here. It's on that main road basically going up to the dam. Alright, I'll do the rest of the walk now and video it for part 2.